Colorado's governor says he wants to keep working with ICE after a judge said he broke the law. That same governor's $29 million pedestrian bridge project took a step closer to becoming reality today. Our state is rewarding President Trump for throwing a fit about the way his picture looked at the state capitol. And a mess load of mayors sit down with us on Next to talk about adding affordable housing in the metro area and how rural Colorado can compete.
We've really been trying to position ourselves to be that next area of Colorado that's going to be a growth area.
We're on the road tonight, live from Breckenridge on Next. Colorado Governor Jared Polis says he wants to find ways for the state to continue working with immigration agents, even after a judge ruled yesterday that the way the governor and his administration were going about it was a violation of state law. I spoke to the governor here in Breckenridge at the Colorado Municipal League conference. He told me that it's too soon to tell if the state is going to appeal the judge's ruling or just find another way to work with ICE. The judge ruled that the state is blocked from ordering certain employees to work with ICE. The governor got sued by a Labor Department employee who said it was illegal for the state to give ICE information on dozens of guardians for unaccompanied minors in Colorado. ICE says it just wants to make sure those kids are okay, but they don't have a warrant. And it's not clear if there's an actual criminal investigation into those families. The judge ruled the Polis administration is likely violating the state law, which restricts cooperation with ICE. Now, the court order does not stop the governor from finding other workarounds besides the state's Labor Department in order to cooperate with ICE. While some of his fellow elected Democrats are pushing back on any collaboration with ICE, Polis told me he thinks there is a way to do it within state law.
Our interest, which I've always expressed, is making sure that we cooperate with any federal efforts to investigate child exploitation or child trafficking. We have a responsibility to these kids. And so, again, we're going to see what the court order says, see what the other avenues are to get there. But we certainly want to build a relationship that we can work with our federal partners on criminal investigations.
I asked Polis how the state goes about determining whether ICE is really concerned with checking up on these kids' welfare or whether it just wants to round them up for deportation. Polis told me that's the tough part, and he called it a fine line to walk. The state employee who sued Polis and won in court yesterday says he hopes that that victory encourages other state employees to stand up.
It sends a clear message that any production under the subpoena would be unlawful and is undertaken at the peril of anyone who sends that illegal order.
The governor says it could be a few weeks before the state knows if it's going to appeal the judge's ruling. Well, Governor Polis has found some people who like his $29 million pedestrian bridge project that he wants to put on the front lawn of the state capitol. Well, we should be clear. I'm not certain that the Capitol Building Advisory Committee really likes the project, but today they did vote 8-4 to advance it through the process. Our Spencer Soysher explains what happens next.
If Democratic Governor Jared Polis doesn't know what the general public thinks about his $29 million Capitol Bridge project by now, allow this rather direct lady to take care of that.
In case you're not hearing me clearly, it's ugly and I hate it.
Sue Glassmaker was direct. She spoke at the Capitol Building Advisory Committee where members criticized the governor's office of being the opposite of direct.
I find that there are a lot of things in this project that are left very vague.
Polis's office has pushed out that the bridge would cost $18 to $20 million. Documents obtained by 9 News show that's just including the bridge itself, not any of the components to maintain it or dress it up.
And as you all know, the devil is in the details, and the cost very much so.
That devil in the details is more like $29 million. 10 of the 12 citizens who spoke at the meeting didn't like the project, but a teacher spoke in support, saying it would help on field trips, and an accessibility advocate said it would make it easier to cross Lincoln in a wheelchair. Others, like Historic Denver, said the accessibility part was being pushed to save face.
The accessibility component only started to become promoted very late in the day when there was significant public opposition to the project.
Some on the committee had serious concerns about paying to maintain the bridge long term. But that and public feedback did not stop the project completely.
That motion passes 8-4.
The committee voted 8-4 to advance it to the next stop, the Capital Development Committee.
I think there's a lot of modification and there's a lot of ears that have to be listened to.
And ultimately, the Capitol Building Advisory is just the first step of 6 that the governor's office needs to clear. All right, I don't mean to poo-poo on the water slide passing through this committee, but it doesn't sound like much, if anything, gets stopped at the Capitol Building Advisory Committee. The chair described its function as advisory, telling the next committee what they think of the project. The chair also said she can't remember another time when people gave public comment at one of these meetings. But as we overheard from one person in the room today, quote, "I was supposed to go to the Rockies game, but I thought this would be more interesting."
So, full disclosure, I did speak out in a next commentary earlier this week that I think that this project is a monument to government waste, but it's not my decision, it's other people's decision. Spencer, the number one question that we have received from Next viewers this week is who can stop this project? And today you learned of some additional steps it will need to go through, people who can stop the project.
Yeah, a lot of them. The state legislature, we learned, can stop this project, though obviously the governor has Democrat support there. But we also learned that the city of Denver and the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, as well as the city council, will get to vote on this. We thought that wouldn't be the case because it goes from state land to state land, but apparently the airspace above Lincoln is considered city of Denver property. So they're going to get to have a say on this as well.
Well, if I had to bet on city council or the state ledge saying no to Governor Polis, it would be Denver City Council. Spencer Soysher, thank you for that update. President Donald Trump is getting his way after throwing a fit. Trump was big mad about how his portrait looked inside the Colorado State Capitol. So the state took the old one down, and now they're going to put up a new one personally approved by President Trump. Our Marshall Zellinger's along with that. And Marshall, that old portrait wasn't up for very long, and the new one might not be either.
No, and this is the old version that he wanted taken down for being what he said, quote, purposefully distorted. State Republicans hired a Colorado Springs artist for this portrait. Well, the state legislature took it down, and this week the president delivered a portrait he prefers. And it's a digital screen. I really didn't do anything when I did that, but this one's painted by an artist from Tempe, Arizona, who's known for speed painting during Christian worship. Trump's portrait just got framed at History Colorado and will be placed in the spot left empty from the previous Trump portrait. But it shouldn't get too comfortable. All the presidents are on notice for possible eviction. The same committee that dealt with the bridge today will meet in September to continue talking about removing all the presidential portraits to make room for all the governor portraits.
We don't have space for a complete governor's gallery on the first floor. The only place we have space for that many portraits is where the presidential gallery is. So what's our best use of that space for Colorado?
It's possible that this portrait went up after the Capitol closed today. I believe it should be in the Gallery of Presidents tomorrow. In September, the committee that deals with Capitol building issues will talk about perhaps moving all the portraits to make room for all the governor portraits, which are supposed to be on the first floor. But Kyle, there's not enough room for all the governors currently, and not because they don't like their portraits.
Marshall, Next viewers are a smart, skeptical sort. Are they really to believe that this idea of moving out the presidential portraits is not connected to the big hissy fit that Trump threw about his picture?
I had not heard about this prior to that, but according to Lois Court, former state senator, very honorable woman, she said that this was a conversation that was going on before the complaint from Trump about the Colorado 150th birthday and the country's 250th birthday that kind of coincides with the bridge, but that this conversation had started before Trump said, I don't like this one, replace it with this one.
Well, if the Honorable Lois Court says it, I believe it. Marshall Zellinger, thank you. Governor Polis has a somewhat contentious relationship with many of the municipal leaders who are gathered here in Breckenridge this week for the Colorado Municipal League Conference. And that's in large part due to what the governor has been pushing on housing policy. Polis supports a new state law that mandates more dense housing around transit in the metro area. There was audible laughter in the room today when the governor was speaking about the idea of how cities and towns should handle housing. But he didn't back down from saying that the state has an interest in controlling some of that.
As a matter of state competitiveness and statewide, concern of how we do as a state in an interjurisdictional way, we have to do better in that. Of course, first and foremost, starting with the desire to serve our constituents, to be able to live affordably.
The governor is even going so far as to threaten to withhold some state funding from municipalities that don't comply with certain zoning and building codes. And that is the topic of today's next conversation with the mayors of Broomfield, Westminster, Golden, and Parker. How many of you think that your community needs more housing of some kind? More housing in your community? All of you. Okay. How many of you believe that your community needs more multifamily housing? 2 of the 4, I got some back and forth. How many of you think that the state's current approach of mandating housing density is the right approach? No across the board. Let's dive in.
We're willing partners in this crisis, but one size doesn't fit all as it's coming to light, and every community doesn't need the hammer that's come down because many of us are already doing this work and doing it willingly because we know we need to increase our housing inventory. But this approach is all wrong for Colorado.
Mayor McNally, I'm sure that the governor and other folks who support his approach would say if you guys were doing enough, fast enough, then the state wouldn't need to get involved.
It's the market right now. It's too expensive to build. We've got condos ready to go. They're just keep waiting a little bit for something to happen. So we don't control the market.
We believe what we are doing is not only to encourage more housing and density, but to do it in the local context that our community supports. So it's not a question of do you believe in housing density or not, it's where is it appropriate, where is it not. Our historic neighborhoods from the 1800s, probably not appropriate to tear those up.
I've heard some folks say that they don't want to see multifamily housing in Douglas County. They'll come right out and say it brings in a certain kind of person, which is a hell of a statement.
It is.
When you hear things like that, what do you hear and think?
First, I have to get over the hurt, the pain. I lived in multifamily, and so I think a lot of people that have lived in apartments take it personally. I don't think enough people speak up. And it is changing in Parker. People are getting vocal. Those citizens, those people that live in the multifamily are working in our schools, they're working in my business. I have folks that work for me that can't afford to live in their hometown. They are living in Denver and Inglewood and commuting to Parker to work at a coffee shop. Why? We don't have enough.
Governor Polis is not the only prominent elected official in America these days who is saying, comply with this law that matters a lot to me or I'm going to withhold funding. You know, Donald Trump does that quite a bit too. Is a fair comparison in your mind between Polis's approach and Trump's approach?
Yes, it's fair.
It's ironic to me that Trump did it to him and he turns around and does it to us. Yeah. I was taken aback. I almost spit my coffee out because, like, are you kidding me? You just yelled at Trump and stood up to Trump, and now you expect us to sit down quietly and you threaten us? So I was shocked.
We covered a lot more ground in our conversation with those metro area leaders. We will post that full unedited conversation on the next YouTube channel and on 9news.com. When we return from Breckenridge, the view from far outside the metro area, we will talk with another set of leaders of communities in every corner of Colorado about what doesn't usually make the news. That's next.
A welcome break from the severe weather today. We enjoyed sunshine with temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. There's a little bit of moisture to work with, and there may be a stray storm along the Colorado-New Mexico line or one out on I-70. If you're headed eastbound, you might run into a brief shower, a rumble of thunder, but the severe threat is low tonight and will be again tomorrow. We're kicking off a warming and drying trend that will see temperatures in the 90s starting tomorrow. But with the warmth, the wind, lower humidity values, not only poor air quality, but elevated fire danger. Both things we'll be talking about over the next few days. Beautiful evening to be out and about in Denver with temperatures in the 70s. Tomorrow, our high at 91, Saturday 94, 87 on Sunday, cooler Monday with showers and storms to cool us off as we head into the first part of next week.
So Cortez is the farthest community from Denver, and so one of the things we've been...
Is that a good thing?
It has its plus and minuses.
When we return, we will hear from mayors from far outside the metro area about what we are missing in their part of Colorado. Hundreds of city and town leaders from across Colorado are gathered here in Breckenridge this week for the Colorado Municipal League Conference. And it's a chance for us to hear from some voices that are not always at the center of conversations that are often largely about the Front Range. From Breckenridge's community pride but looming workforce issues, to Lamar's desire to grow, to Cortez's public lands balance, to Alamosa's hope that it can help the whole San Luis Valley thrive.
And a single family home in Breckenridge goes for $3.3 million. That's average. And a condominium is $1 million. So while we actually have a lot of units up here, you know, we have struggled to get sort of the state to understand that if we have workforce housing that needs to be developed, we have quite a lot of units, but they have to be deed restricted.
We've really been trying to position ourselves to be that next area of Colorado that's going to be a growth area. And that's what we want to do. We're 2 hours drive from Pueblo, 2 hours drive from Garden City, 3 to Amarillo, and 3 to Denver. So we're really centrally located. And having the crossways between Highway 50 and Highway 287, which are both very busy thoroughfares, we have a lot of potential there to capture that traffic that goes through, whether it's shipping traffic with semi-trucks or travelers going to Kansas. So that's where we come into that whole idea. We're trying to be that hub for Southeast Colorado.
The public lands bring a lot of money to our community. A lot of people visit to mountain bike, a lot of people visit to hunt, to fish, to recreate around our area, so they come and spend money in Cortez. But it's a big conversation we have with our county commissioners, because they don't want to see more land go into public lands and less into their budget. But it's a balancing act of, it brings indirect money, even though it could take direct money from them. But we're fighting for keeping our public lands and also working with the tribe, because that's an important piece to them as well.
Our downtown plan is going extremely well. If you drive through Alamosa, you'll see some of the artwork that we have there. Most of the surrounding communities are smaller towns than ours. We're the largest one in that area, so most of the businesses are in that area, so people come there to shop, do their business, take care of some of their financial needs and things like that. So knowing that as a community is so important for us, is that make sure that all of our surrounding rural communities are healthy and doing well too, because when Alamosa does well, other communities do well. If our surrounding communities and rural communities suffer, we suffer too. So we always want to work on those collaborative efforts to make it great for the whole San Luis Valley.
Real refreshing to hear voices from outside the Front Range. We'll post that entire conversation on the next YouTube channel and 9news.com. Back from Breckenridge with your feedback next. We finished with feedback. Kevin from Greeley says, thank you for pursuing the rural town's perspectives. Far too often, Kevin writes, we only get the metro perspective. Carolyn in Golden also appreciated a bunch of mayors being front and center on Next, said thank you, very important that many folks hear from them. I had the opportunity today here at the Colorado Municipal League Conference to talk with a group of about 500 public servants from around the state about what we do on Next, what we, meaning you and me, do together through our Word of Thanks microgiving, trying to touch as many of their communities as we can around Colorado. We hold public servants to account when they fall short. We should celebrate them when they get the job done. Thanks for joining us from Breckenridge. See you next time.